We are back. It is happy hour presented by Deschutes. It's a big week for a variety of reasons, but as I crack this beer, first and foremost, raising a cold one, the squeezy rider of the week, Yogi Roth. Happy birthday, my man. Hey. I hope you are just one of my favorite people on the planet. Before we dive into all of this Pac-12 talk, I hope you have something fun planned for today, even more fun than drinking your smoothie or whatever it is that you're drinking and doing a happy hour with me. But cheers to you.
We ripped already all the squeezy riders, it's early out here, but the birthday.
You are, yeah. You guys started early, like 7 a.m. Good for you.
Yeah, look, you got two kids, getting them out the door. Like sometimes you're like, hey, I needed to shoot. So don't judge me. Don't judge me. 41.
When you turn 25, you roll however you want. All right. So Yogs, we got a lot to get to. Obviously, there's a coaching change news at ASU that we'll dive into, but I want to start big picture. We're going to do something a little bit different this week. So I want you to give me your happy hour buzz and your happy hour buzz kill as we sit here entering into conference play. So something great and something not so great. And we'll start with the great. We'll start with the positive because that's what you're all about.
Well, I'll tell you what, Saturday night, 6:30 Pacific, I'm fired up for standing room only at Reser Stadium, a unique stadium, right? It's under construction. We all know that. SC heading up there in a night game. I've been there when we lost a night game at SC. I know what that is like when you're a top team and you go down in Corvallis. And I can't wait. We get to call it. Anybody that wants to watch it, it's easy. You can find it on Sling, wherever, if you don't have it already. It's going to be awesome, Ash. Like the storylines are there for days. So I am on one for this game.
I love that. I love that. Okay. So I'm going to go even bigger picture than that because I cannot wait to be out there with you. I just heard, by the way, that they installed a new speaker system at Reser.
Oh yeah. It's good.
I just saw that announcement. So I'm just, we're going to go, we're going to rip it. But my buzz is that this off season, or I should say this non-conference season, it felt different. Like it feels good. We're sitting here right now, 24-9, the Pac-12 is in non-conference play, 3 wins over ranked opponents. And to me, what Oregon and Washington were able to do this weekend was huge. And it wasn't just that the Ducks beat BYU. It wasn't just that the Huskies beat Sparty, but it was the way in which they handled them. And to borrow your line, like they dictated terms.
Yeah.
And they were no doubt the better team. So it just feels like we've won some meaningful games. And as we head into week 4, there are not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 Pac-12 teams sitting at 3-0. I still think Cal should be 3-0, but that's probably another whole happy hour for another day. We'd need another case of Deschutes for that. But shout out also to what they're doing in the Pacific Northwest. In the state of Oregon and Washington, only loss between those 4 teams is to Georgia, who I think it was said the other day, they're on a different planet than everybody else right now in college football. So I just feel good. I'm buzzed up about the way that the Pac-12 feels heading into conference play. That's what I'm excited about. Okay, what's your buzz kill?
My buzz kill, and I'm here to help. It's an offering. Anybody who's got a vote in the AP poll, I'm here to help because you make your vote. And I'm just going to go look at a couple of these teams that I see. Oklahoma State. Drink to this. Oklahoma State. Who have you beaten? Arkansas. You're about to get rolled by your old head coach. Tennessee beat Pitt. I'll give you that. But as I look down this list, Baylor has lost to BYU team that just got rolled. Wake Forest, no offense, haven't beaten anybody. A&M, what are you still doing there? What are you still doing there? You didn't look good against Miami, and Miami, love you, Mario, but it's based on historicals is the point. And what I love about college football is the hype and anticipation of the preseason and our ranked teams, and Utah's going to the CFP and all that. But then when we get into games, and at least you have 3 of them, like a body of work, and you see what Oregon State has done to respectable programs, much more respectable than the wins that Wake Forest has. Not disrespecting their opponents, but I'm just being real. Boise State, Fresno State. So if we want to play the historical game, Montana State, 4th in the country at their respective level. What's up? Washington State went in and put it on Wisconsin. Didn't score in the second half on the road in that environment, Ash. And here's the point is they're like, yes, I get it. Our friend Coach Elliott doesn't think AP rankings matter, and that's fair. And I get all that. But as a guy who is on the CFP call representing our league, when you hear things like this team has a ranked win in week 2 or week 3, or they lost to a ranked team in week 4, it matters. So now when I look at USC and Oregon, if they win, not given enough credit, and if they lose, regardless of the team that lost, for Oregon State and Wazoo, they jump to 22. they should already be at 22. They should jump to 14. They should jump to 12. Like, so to the AP, man, massive buzz kill, but I'm here to help. I'm your DD. I'm here to drive you home. I'm here to drive you out to the West Coast. I'll help you out. I'll help you. I'm not here to hate. I'm here to help, Ash.
Oh, you're a great DD, Yogi. That's what I love about you. And you stole my buzzkill. That was exactly my buzzkill. Like, I don't understand how Washington State and Oregon State are not ranked, especially, I mean, like the Cougs, what they did in Madison. And here you talk about historicals. Here's one for you from our researcher, Greg Mraz. Washington State is just the second Power 5 team in the last 20 seasons to start 3-0 with a road win over a top 20 team and not be ranked in week 4 in the AP poll. The other was Kentucky back in 2002. So historically speaking, if you do what the Washington State Cougars have done, you are ranked. And it does matter, to your point, because both of those games, the Oregon game against Washington State and the one that we're going to go to, USC and Oregon State, those should be top 25 matchups. We should have 2 top 25 Pac-12 matchups this week. Now, again, I get that really the only rankings that matter are at the end of the year, and that's what coaches will say. But I got to imagine, like, we know Jake Dickert. There's no way that this isn't being at least somewhat talked about amongst the locker room. Like, I think this is another chip on the shoulder, and let's go and show them who we are.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting because I think, like, I can remember playing and, like, you know, you weren't ranked and it was a thing. I think now that there's so much conversation, there's so much news, there's so much content. I bet the players are like I just talked to Chance Nolan a few minutes ago in advance of their game, and they're like, yeah, we recognize it, but it's whatever. Like, I think there's so much content for these players now that they're moving on. But I do look at just the respect for the West Coast. I feel as though our friends who are voting the AP poll may have had too many Deschutes in advance of submitting their poll, because I don't have an answer for it. Like, I really don't. Like, if you want to be historical, okay, but that's not what it is when we're in the 3rd, 4th week of the season in September. Like, we've got a body of work. So we'll see.
We're asking AP voters to please drink responsibly is what we're asking. Okay, I want to get to the coaching stuff, but before we do that, let's just put a bow on what we saw this weekend. Can I ask you your favorite off the field moment? Because we got to hang out in LA, not as much as I would have liked to, but we were both at the Rose Bowl as UCLA came back and just squeaked one out thanks to Nicholas Barmere, your special teams player of the week, that game-winning field goal against South Alabama. But do you have a favorite off the field moment from the week that was?
Well, I think just watching Nick Aliotti and Chip Kelly interact, that was amazing to me. Like, because, we know Chip well enough now where, like, he really enjoys that dialogue. Like, there's a smirk to him. There's some fun to him. And then for Coach Aliotti, like, I love his style of interviewing somebody that he's worked with so intimately over the years. And who doesn't love Coach Al? So that was, for me, just watching that up in the booth, just kind of, man, those are two legends right there in the sport of football.
I wish you could have seen, like, it was Chip Kelly. I've never seen that man smile bigger than when Nick Aliotti came up with his microphone ready for his pregame interview. It was all time. My favorite off the field moment also involves Nick Aliotti, and it's a shout out to our crew. So I don't think people at home understand what it takes to put on a football broadcast. I think most people's minds would be blown. I've worked in this industry for 15 years, and it still blows my mind when I think about it. But we took Nick Aliotti and Michael Bumpus to the truck. So we've got the producer, the director, Michael Molinari, Scott Barkey, and just your amazing crew that you guys have on Saturdays. And I just said, Nick, I just want you to watch what goes on and hear what goes on. And it was like we took him to Mars. He was just blown away. Scott, you know how it is. Scott Barkey, the director, is going, he doesn't stop talking because he's get ready to take camera. I mean, I'm not even going to pretend like I know exactly what's going on or what he's doing, but it is masterful. It's like, he's an orchestra conductor. And I will just say, seeing Nick, Nick's mind was absolutely blown when he saw what went on in the truck. So shout out to the crew and all the people behind the scenes, because it. They're unbelievable.
Dude, there's a lot of dialogue though. Like, I do a podcast with Michael Molinari, the producer, and we recognize that Coach Aliotti had a lot of love for Scott Barkey. And
was he upset about? Was he upset? Was Molinari upset that he didn't get as much credit?
I'm just saying, hey, Coach Aliotti gave an eval and he saw what he saw. But we loved having you guys around. I can't wait this weekend too. We're all back together.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Back in Corvallis. I can't wait. And I would say again, I know you mentioned it, but those are the things I'm just the most excited about is we're getting into conference play, and we are going to be at an electric Research Stadium all day on Saturday. All right, let's close out, Yogi, here, this happy hour with obviously the big coaching news that happened, and ASU, just a disappointing outcome against Eastern Michigan on Saturday night. Like, I don't think anybody really saw that coming. I think they knew it was going to be a grinder of a game, but I don't think anybody thought that it would go down like it did. And then, of course, hours later announced that Ray Anderson and Herm Edwards mutually agreed to part ways. So there's an interim coach, the running backs coach, Sean Agano, is taken over from here on out. They've got Utah on Saturday, but just your reaction and kind of your thoughts on Herm's time at ASU coming to an end.
Disappointed, sad. Herm has been nothing but class. Like, if you want a master class on how to manage, deal with the media, be respectful in the process as a head coach, like Herm Edwards wrote the blueprint on that. I mean, he was fascinating to us, and I'll always cherish our time together. I think early season coaching changes is something that unfortunately is becoming a norm, I think, in the sport that we love so much. With that said, I will say what I said last year to USC players. I'll say this to Arizona State players. Over 50 guys that are new to that program. They get to make a choice. They're going to make a choice of, hey, is it about protecting my 4 games? Is it about finding a new home? Is it about protecting my body because I'm going to go or attempt to go to the league next year? Or is it about, like, you work so hard for 12 and now you got 9 left? Like, can you throw down and do something unique? Because their next 3 games are going to be a challenge. How hard can they compete to stay together? Like, that's what it is, because they're going to remember this much more than when Valade was at Wyoming.
Yeah.
Emory Jones is going to remember this much more than when he was at Florida, because it's his final time. Right. So I just urge the players, and I'm sure they have. And Sean Aguano is going to be great. He sat in that chair. Everybody loves him. He's a hell of a coach. Like, he's proven as a head coach, granted at the high school level, but he knows what he's doing in terms of pressing the buttons. But can you compete to stay connected? That will be the thing. It was hard last year. We saw it at SC. It's a challenge. This is a challenge when a change happens this early. So that's my thought on what is reality today. Moving forward, tell you what, I've been thinking about this one a lot, Ash. I'm curious to your thoughts too. Is, ASU is often defined as a sleeping giant. It has been for a long time, right? It hasn't been a giant as often as their fans hope it could be. But we're entering a new era. When you look at West Coast football, warm weather West Coast football, wanting to play in front of fans and friends that are within proximity. Well, USC and UCLA are leaving the league. Arizona State, they're in a metropolitan community, right, in the Phoenix region, in the Phoenix city. They have an academic institution that is appealing. It is a really fun time when you go there. It's a great college experience. Like, there's going to be a lot to sell. And as I chewed on it and thought about the phrase sleeping giant, it came to me like, this time around, especially when you eliminate the LA schools from the Pac-12 moving forward after the next season and 3 quarters, Arizona State's going to be a pretty appealing job. And I've talked to a bunch of guys that are really excited about throwing their name into that. I'm not going to say names because everybody has the same list of names and we just throw names out and it's really meaningless, especially within 24 hours, in my opinion. It's going to take a lot of time. And their athletic director, Ray Anderson, said just that. He said, hey, let us get through this and then we'll get to that. So I do think that while I hate it that it happened, I don't like early season firings in general. I hope the team competes to stay together. But moving forward, this is going to be, I think, as appealing of a job as ASU has been, just based on the realities within the league.
I think that is all masterfully said, Yogi. And I think one of the things when you talk about the reality of where we are with early season firings, it's just interesting because you kind of, as much as I hate him too. And we talked to Chip Kelly about this last year, just that even when you make changes within the staff, like, what message are you sending when you're the head coach and you're making changes, personnel changes and coaching changes in the middle of a season? Have whatever opinion you want on that, good, bad, or indifferent. But you look at what USC did a year ago and getting rid of Clay Helton week 2 and how it all played out after that, and the runway that it gave USC to evaluate who they wanted to come in, who they thought could come in, all of those conversations, and then other coaches to probably think about the appeal. And there's a longer runway. There's no way that they get Lincoln Riley. I don't think, like, the stars really align. I don't know that they land Lincoln Riley if they had done that differently. So, who knows? But I do think that that's where it's headed. And part of it is the fans too. I think fans are rightfully so. They spend a lot of time, energy, and money and investing in their teams, and they want results. And I know that it's frustrating to go to games in and out and feel like there's no progress. And like I will give Colorado as the example. From Denver. I have a lot of Buffs fans in my life, and they're feeling it right now. But who's really feeling it is that team. And so going back to what you just said about how are you going to compete to stay connected? Like that's my question for ASU. And it's also my question for Colorado right now. Obviously, Rick George, the athletic director, put out a statement. I think it was Sunday night that basically just came out and said, look, we're disappointed. We are disappointed in what happened with Minnesota. We're disappointed in how we started. Carl Durrell and the student athletes and all the support staff, they're working to get us back on track. And the thing that he ended though with, which is just, I want to underscore it and underline it. He said, regardless of your feelings right now on Colorado football, I encourage you to continue to support our tremendous football student athletes who need your cheers, encouragement, and support now more than ever. Like, amen, Rick. I co-sign on all of that. And I think just like reread it and rehear that, because it's easy to get frustrated and everybody feels sad when their team doesn't win. Of course, we've all been there. But I think that point of like, go support these players, go support these student athletes who are, working their butts off more than anyone outside the program has any idea, to try to stay connected, win a game, win a play, all of that. So, I think it's going to be fascinating how it all unfolds. And my hope is that Colorado can figure it out. And I think they've got a lot of good coaches and plenty of good players. And so what's going to happen with ASU and Colorado this year will be interesting to see how it all plays out. All right. Any fun, you got a birthday wish? What's your big birthday wish this year as we wrap this up? Cause we're out of time here, Yogs.
Well, I'll tell you what, a great game every weekend. The more times I could be around you and Coach Aliotti, the better. Throw Nigel into the mix whenever appropriate.
He's going to be here this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Coming back to his old stomping ground.
Let's go. That is what I hope. Every weekend. Can we do that? Can we find a way to align, have a great game, come down to the last couple drives, hang out with you guys post game, maybe have the students rush the field, and then have a couple of shoots afterwards? I mean, what else do you want?
That's what, and I just realized I totally screwed this whole thing up because I found my Deschutes hat.
Oh, swag.
And I don't know what I've been doing. So yeah, I double down on that. And I will say that one of my favorite parts of conference play, other than just the competition and that like, you never know what the heck is going to happen, is that you don't need like 17 screens to follow what's happening on a Saturday. Like you can double screen it maybe here and there, but we've got 6 games instead of 12 games. Yeah. And you can dial in and we'll learn a lot more about these teams. There's no doubt about it as we move forward. So one last plug, our on-site coverage from Oregon State that includes Yogi Roth begins at 10 a.m. Pacific on Saturday with the tailgate show. It's going to be good. Bring your earplugs, I think, Yogi. And most importantly, cheers to you and your green juice. And I don't know what you're doing, but the Benjamin Button, it's working.
It's a green juice.
Thanks for, it's the green juice. Yeah, I guess I'm going to stick with the Deschutes then.